Guys, comeback player of the year. It's a pretty prestigious award around the NFL. And this year, there are 3 or 4 candidates that have a stranglehold on the Vegas odds. Demar Hamlin, Joe Flacco, Baker Mayfield, and we can even throw Matthew Stafford in there for fun. This isn't a question of who will win the award, but who is the most compelling case as the NFL's comeback.
I'm glad you framed it that way because I don't think there's any question who will win the award, sadly.
You know, Vegas has Hamlin as the big favorite because it's the story. He hasn't played all year. But, you know, Vegas...
He's played in 5 games,
ultimately,
but he's got 1 tackle or 2 tackles.
We know we always trust Vegas because they know these... Right, but they don't know what voters are gonna vote.
No, but wouldn't you agree that the public sentiment is going to be so overwhelming to see Demar Hamlin get that award?
Yeah.
That sometimes it just happens.
I honestly...
And it shouldn't happen.
As a voter, I'd be embarrassed to vote for Demar Hamlin. That's embarrassing.
I would too, but I'll tell you what this reminds me of.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get political here, but what this reminds me of was when ESPN gave their Female Athlete of the Year award to Leah Thomas. I thought that was a smack in the face of every great female athlete. I just did. But to me, that felt like this is the right thing to do award. Look at us. We're virtue signaling.
But, yeah.
We're giving a female award to a biological man.
I don't know that. I mean, we don't want to go down this
road.
road.
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I think this is what it reminds me of.
There are people who are born male and feel like females, and just because you or somebody else don't get it, that's fine.
No. I'm all bull.
Yeah.
No, that's for identity.
Yeah.
And I am 100% for that because I happen to know for a fact that happens. My point on Leah Thomas was...
it's a tricky thing.
It's a very tricky thing.
There should probably be a separate category.
Because you're saying to all the other female athletes that year that...
I hear you.
She was better.
I hear you.
And we can leave it there.
But
this is kind of what it reminds me of.
It's like you feel like you have to vote for this person.
Right. Because it's the virtuous thing to do.
And I think it's stupid. I don't even think Demar Hamlin should be a candidate. The fact that he essentially died on the field for a few seconds and is living and is in the NFL is amazing, and honor him in some way.
I said yesterday, here's what you do.
Yeah.
Because there would be backlash. You know there's going to be backlash if he doesn't win it, which I think he will.
Yeah.
But if he didn't, what the NFL is most afraid of is everybody saying, how could you not give it to a player that died? Yeah. What bigger comeback is it coming back from the dead?
Yeah.
However, what I would do is I would create a new award beginning this year, and it would be the Demar Hamlin Courage Award.
Right.
Because think about it. To come back and play a game which once made your heart stop beating takes a lot of courage.
Yes, no
and
doubt.
so honor him forever. We're going to give this award 30 years from now, 50 years from now, 80 years from now when you're dead. There will be a Demar Hamlin Courage Award winner.
It's like the Walter Payton. I actually really like that idea. It's kind of ironic. We sit here, you know, I went viral a couple years ago talking about Demar Hamlin. And so now it's like you come full circle and it's a year. Now he's up for the world, but award for comeback player of the year. But ironically, to me, that award means who did it on the field. Like
I agree.
You have to be able. You have to.
He was only active for one game.
Right. And so
I thought he played in 5 games. I looked this up.
I thought it was
night.
1. All right, I could be wrong.
He's winning.
I thought I played 5 games and he had 2 tackles, mostly, if not all, special teams play.
He's winning at the game of life. I can't be mad at you for the game of life. That's great.
Listen,
nobody's anti-Demar Hamlin.
No, and
it's
if
amazing.
Get the award, it doesn't mean that we're anti-Demar Hamlin.
It's just the definition of who come back, means you was done. You was out of here. You wasn't, you had a bad year or you were out of the league.
Yeah. Right. To me, it's who has the best season of the guys that either were terrible last year, were hurt last year, or didn't play last year.
Yes, I agree with that.
And who had the best season of those guys.
Right.
Not just, obviously what happened to him. But, okay, so who would you guys vote for?
I'll start because I know I'll get grief for this, but my guy's Baker Mayfield. And I think if you look at the numbers, it's a pretty slam dunk case. Now, who do I want to win it? I want Joe Flacco to win it. So to me, it's Hamlin, Flacco, and Baker. Those are the 3 favorites according to Vegas. And after that, there's a big drop off. So it really is a 3-horse race. Although Bull has someone that's not in those 3.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can make a strong case for him. However, If you look at Hamlin, because he's only played, did I get that right, 5 games?
He's been suited up for 5. He's only played in 2. But he has 2 tackles this season and 2 pass breakups. So
because of that, to me, I look at it I look at it as a literal award. Not that you just came back.
Yeah.
I look at it that your career they were throwing dirt on your career, and here you are. So for me, that leaves 2 guys, Baker Mayfield and Joe Flacco. And for Joe Flacco, as much as I hope he gets the award, it's going to be really difficult to make the case for him to win it because he didn't play in September, he didn't play in October, and he didn't play in November. So because of that, it's going to be really, really difficult. Maybe he played 1 game in November. I'm not sure.
1 game November.
Okay. It's going to be really hard to convince me that a guy that played, if I'm going to ding Demar Hamlin for only suiting up for 5 games, I have to use that same standard against Joe Flacco, who only suited up for 5 games. Now, his impact on his team was far greater. But when I started looking at the Baker Mayfield thing, I thought, does he deserve it? And I'll read you some numbers, and I think you guys are going to be really surprised in this, at these numbers. I was. And he's on one of my fantasy teams, so I follow him fairly closely, but I was surprised at some of these numbers. Baker Mayfield is 4th in the NFL in touchdown passes. Baker Mayfield has more touchdowns and fewer interceptions than he did when he set the rookie record for the most touchdowns ever by a rookie. This is the one that clinches this vote for me. Baker Mayfield has more touchdowns and fewer picks than Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Tua, Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence. Those are some
You're not including rushing touchdowns in that.
I'm talking passing touchdowns. He has more passing touchdowns than Allen, Mahomes, Tua, Stafford, and Trevor Lawrence. He has fewer picks than all 5 of those guys. Only 1 quarterback in the NFL, and this is the stat that I think most impressed me, has more touchdown passes and fewer picks than Baker Mayfield. And that's Dak Prescott, who I think some people would tell you is going to get MVP votes. So when you look at it from that, he has fewer picks than Brock Purdy, for crying out loud. And by the way, he's done that. He's got more touchdowns and fewer interceptions on fewer attempts than Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. His team has a game at Carolina Sunday. Likely, they're the big favorite. Who knows? If he loses this game and looks bad, he doesn't get my Comeback Player of the Year award. It's in his hands. If he wins that game, he's taken his team to a 9-7 record and an NFC title. He's going to the playoffs. And by the way, I know that a lot of people will say it's the worst division in football. It is. It was last year too. And Tom Brady threw for fewer touchdowns and more interceptions than Baker and took his team to the playoffs with an 8-9 record. So when you take all of that into totality, I think that it's got to be Baker Mayfield for the Comeback Player of the Year.
He'll most likely have 4,000 yards. He has 3,900 right now.
Yep.
He's on one of my fantasy teams, actually starting this week.
I lost a trip to the championship finals in our league because I decided to keep, me and my son decided to keep Baker Mayfield on the bench.
But we
should have started him against Green Bay.
He could have even better numbers. He could have he could be 9-8 after this game, 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns.
9-7 if they win.
So
if they lose it, by the way, I'd be the first one to say I can't give it to him. All he had to do is go to Carolina, a team that cut him last year. And I think another part of this equation isn't just the year you're having. Go back and look at the year he had last year.
Played for how many teams?
Traded by the Browns, released by the Panthers, signed on with the Rams, and by and large, the NFL hierarchy had decided his career was pretty much sputtering.
He was done.
It was over for Baker Mayfield. He signed a very, very team-friendly 1-year contract with Tampa Bay. He essentially did what Joe Flacco did. I'm going to bet on myself. He signed for 1 year. He's going to get paid next year. He's going to get paid.
Who you going with?
I'm going to go, come on now. Like I like his research. I love the research. I didn't know his stats. And some of them numbers, I didn't know he was that good.
Listen, they surprised me too, G.
Surprised me a little bit. I'm going to go with, like I said, Demar Hamlin in real life, he's winning. But I'm talking about on the field. Baker Mayfield is up for that. Like he's going to get multiple and a lot of votes based on that information, especially if they can get to the playoffs. For me, I just think the narrative for Joe Flacco is growing and it's bubbling and it will continue to grow. Because first of all, you look at it from in respective point with the Jets. You come from a major market, right? So there's a major flashlight on, wow, the Jets let this guy go. 2, he did it when it counted, down the backstretch. And there was a couple of games on TV. The Thursday night game helped him a little bit. Mm-hmm. I thought, him playing some of these other teams and putting up the type of numbers he did helped him a lot. And plus, the Cleveland Browns, traditionally who they've been, in not having a quarterback in the way he came in and started breaking records, I think that's crazy too. I think also when you juxtapose Deshaun Watson and you juxtapose what Joe Flacco is in his demeanor, there are going to be people who have votes that already said, I said earlier this year, Deshaun Watson could have the best numbers in the next 10, 15 years. They'll never vote for him for MVP. So that stigma was on the Browns. People say, we don't even want to watch the Browns. Now you get a guy like Joe Flacco, they get the story. Now the national media is just all over it. They're just, listen, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Joe Flacco, they keep saying he got off his couch. He has 5 children. He was in daddy daycare. They just kept going on and on and on.
It's a lovely story.
It's a very good story. And now that the Browns have an opportunity to actually make noise in the playoffs at a high level, I think that's going to be what people vote on, not necessarily who did the most. Because if you look at the names, I do think Baker Mayfield did the most statistically, but the story is just too doggone good.
Yeah, and it's oftentimes with this award, it is more about the story.
Yes.
Not for MVP. MVP, it's more about the numbers and your impact on your team.
Team.
But it does feel like oftentimes the Comeback Player of the Year award, when you see who wins it, you're like, really?
That guy?
Wow. Okay, I didn't think of that.
Like, I don't even think Adrian Peterson won. He had 2. No, I think he did. The year he came back at 2,000 yards.
All right, to me, this is easy. It's a no-brainer. It's Matthew Stafford, and it's frankly not even close. Matthew Stafford is 4-5 against teams that are over 500. You know what Baker Mayfield's record is against?
Wait. 4-5. Let's not use that as a beautiful stat.
That's solid to be around 500.
It's a losing record.
You know what Baker Mayfield's record is against teams over 500?
So I knew you when I went. I knew you were going to start digging up to find the negative stats. What is he?
He's 1-6.
Okay.
1-6.
Neither one are any good against winning teams. Because I'm not going to tout 4-5.
4-5 is a lot better.
I'm not touting 4-5.
Would anybody disagree that 4-5 is a lot better than 1-6?
Oh no! Listen, I'll give you that. It's a lot better. But Bull, he's the 4th pick, and his odds are 100 times longer.
That's irrelevant. You're at,
okay. Well,
the question is, who do I think should win? Not what are the odds.
Okay, make your case.
The odds that's irrelevant. If you Baker's thrown, I think, 1 more touchdown than Matthew Stafford, but he's played 1 more game. Stafford missed a game due to injury. In that game, the Rams got crushed in the game he missed. The Rams are 9-6 overall in the games. 9-6 overall in games he's played. The Buccaneers are 8-8. The Rams have played a much tougher schedule. What? Buccaneers are 8-8.
Bucks are 8-8.
Wait, who missed a game? You're saying someone missed a game?
Matthew Stafford missed a game.
How can they? Oh, they're 9-6 in the games he's
played. They're 9-7 overall, 9-6 in the games he's played.
I got
so
it.
He's won 60% of his games this year. Baker's won half. In games against teams that are really good, playoff teams, Baker Mayfield's Stafford's team's been better. Baker has 1 more passing touchdown, and he has, I think, 2 less interceptions. But Baker's got more. Baker's fumbled 8 times, and he's lost 4 of them. Matthew Stafford hasn't fumbled once this year. You picked and choose your stats. You ignored the rushing.
I'm laughing at you because the stats you're going for, and you know this because you're smart.
I'm doing the same thing you did, Jay.
No, I went for the money numbers.
You made your point. Let me make my point. You made your point. Okay. If you look at the QBR, Matthew Stafford way better. If you look at PFF grade, Matthew Stafford way better. The Rams are in a much tougher division because they have the 49ers in their division. There's nobody. The AFC South is trash.
How many
that's the only reason
teams are in that division?
In the AFC West,
there's 2 teams over 500, and the Seahawks are 8-8.
Yeah,
right.
They have 3.
Basically, the NFC South has 3 teams that are at 500 or right there, right?
Jay's
2
not
are
trying.
8-8.
You're not trying to argue the AFC South is as good as the AFC West, are you?
The NFC West.
The NFC South. It's not close.
No, I'm not saying that. I don't know where the AFC.
The NFC South and the NFC West.
Yeah.
You're trying to. Jay, it's not even close. What are you talking about?
I don't know. What are the total number of victories for both conferences? Or both divisions.
Jay,
I'll tell you, the
Jay,
NFC
I'll
West
do it real
is
quick.
better.
8 +
Nobody
8.
in the NFC South is any good. They're all mediocre or worse.
They're all mediocre,
okay?
except for Carolina, which is horrible.
The 49ers, in my opinion, the 49ers are obviously a lot better than anybody in the NFC South.
Yeah.
The Rams, in my opinion, and the Seahawks are better than any of the NFC South teams. Does anybody disagree with that?
I agree.
No.
Okay, so they're playing a tougher division. They've played more teams over 500. They've won more games over 500. He has less turnovers. He has the same amount of touchdowns, or maybe one less passing touchdown, but he's played one less game. He has more passing yards, even though he's played one less game. Yeah. He has way more passing yards per game.
What are the
He has a
number of
better
attempts?
QBR, and he has a better PFF grade. So I don't even see the argument
What are the
for
number
Baker.
of attempts?
And Matthew Stafford was hurt last year, so he didn't do anything last year either.
So do you?
And he was bad when he did play.
So do you think his floor last year was
I mean, a lot of that was injury. It was
higher or
injury.
lower than Baker's? So like Baker came from like
I'm not giving him a pass last year
like
because
Baker,
of injuries.
Baker
sure as hell didn't
like
get a
it
pass
was like
because of that.
because
Who's giving a pass? I'm saying he sucked last year.
No, but you said he was injured. G said, are you saying his floor?
No, he was injured.
Was
He
as low
didn't
as it was?
play
You said,
that.
no, he was injured. A
So
lot.
no, he didn't play that
so I
much.
guess
That's a fact.
So I'm guessing like who came back from when he's a comeback player, who came back from the worst type of season? Like Matthew Stafford, yes, he was hurt, but I think everybody knows that
Matthew Stafford
can
played.
play.
He
Like,
only played 9 games.
Yeah, he
last
could play. He could play.
Absolutely.
He only played 9 games last year.
What were his
and he had
touchdowns and
10
picks
touchdowns, 8 picks.
Okay.
Which is not
That was
very
exactly
good.
the same as Baker last
Baker's
year.
ass was out,
Yeah.
literally looking like his career was over.
And so was Matthew Stafford.
No, the
In
Rams
fact,
actually had a choice to make.
I know.
Stafford or Baker.
I know, but in
And
fact,
they chose Stafford.
In fact, on this show, you said Baker might end up with the Rams because Matthew Stafford's done. You said that.
No,
on this
listen,
show.
I wasn't the only one saying
Exactly.
that.
So
Yeah.
don't say nobody thought he was done. A lot of people
what
thought
I'm
he was
saying
done.
is it came down to a choice.
Yeah.
And Sean McVay, wisely by the way,
Yes.
said, give me Matthew Stafford.
I know. And in the end, they both were lousy last year.
Yeah.
Okay? And Matthew Stafford's been better by most markers this
This
season.
is really close. This is actually a very
See,
close
what are the
argument.
odds? What are the
Very
Vegas
close
odds?
argument.
I know Bull doesn't
don't-
care about it in this instance, but what are the odds? Like,
According to
are they giving
FanDuel-
him a chance?
It's close.
Who, Matt Stafford?
Yeah.
Matt Stafford right now on FanDuel is 75-1. So no.
But those odds, they're not basing those odds on who should win. They're basing those odds on.
No, I'm basing them on who's going to win.
Yeah, but how would they even know that?
Well, it's Vegas. They have more information
No,
than
they don't.
anybody.
It's voters. What would they have
Well,
information
the
on?
one thing you know about Vegas.
I know when
you'll
it comes to
admit this,
games, not when it comes to awards.
Well, they're betting. They have the
but they're
potential to
wrong
lose
all the
money on-
time, Vegas.
Of course they are, but
on
they're
that.
right more than they're wrong.
No, they're not. Not on awards.
Well, they're right more than they're wrong because if they weren't, they wouldn't have
not on
marble
awards,
casinos
Jay.
that are
On
worth.
awards, they don't. That's why they change every week.
We don't know what their track record is on awards. I'm just using their track record on setting odds. In general, they know what the hell
Yeah.
they're doing.
I'm not
And again,
disagreeing with that. I'm talking about one specific
Matthew
thing.
There's certainly a case to be made for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, quite frankly, I don't think he should be a 75-1. And I didn't
It's
think
absurd.
that when I looked at them yesterday. I'm like, why is it a 3-horse race and then everybody else? I didn't think that was, I don't think they have it properly wagered right now.
It's actually changed since this morning.
It'll change before the award is announced. I mean, it will. But for me, when I look at where both were in their career, and I know that there was a lot of talk because Stafford's injury was serious.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of talk that this could be it for him. But the team that had the most information on everything was the Rams. They owned Stafford. They had Baker. When Sean McVay made the decision that I'm not going to move forward with Baker, I'm going to move forward with Stafford, he had some pretty good information that this guy's going to be fine.
Well, they also
moving
owed Stafford
forward.
a lot more money.
That's true. That had something to do with the decision. But by and large, I don't know that Stafford's reputation has ever been where Baker's was at the end of last year. Baker's reputation at the end of last year was he was used up. He was done. You've sat here and said he's not any good. A lot of the NFL hierarchy said this guy is done.
I have said consistently that Baker Mayfield is mediocre. He was terrible last year, but so was Matthew Stafford.
Yes.
They actually both had 10 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
I know, but if you look at it, if you look at everything in totality, was Matthew Stafford's, outside of the injury, was Matthew Stafford ever looked at by the NFL hierarchy as, oh, this guy's trash, he's going to be lucky if he finds a team?
No, and I thought Matthew Stafford would be better than Baker this year, but Matthew Stafford made the Pro Bowl, and honestly made it. He deserved it.
Yeah, I believe he did.
Baker Mayfield did not make the Pro Bowl.
No, he did
not.
not.
Baker had a good solid year, but the reality is he's in a terrible division, and they got smoked quite often when they played good teams. That's it.
So who's going to win?
I think Demar Hamlin's going to win.
Well, we all said that. I mean, we think that at the end of the day, it's going to be.
I think if it's not Demar Hamlin, it's going to be Joe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's a great story, and that's what a lot of times they vote.
If it is between those two, and by the way, Vegas has them as the 1 and 2 choice.
Yeah, DeMar's minus 230 and Joe's plus 220.
I just think you're going to cock your head at that award a little bit, because if the top 2 choices played in 5 games this year, I just don't know how you give a major season award for someone that was on the field for less than a third of the team's games.
They're going to pay it forward. Like the league office is like, there's no other way we're going to do this. I don't care if and by the way, who's voting for this? Who votes for this?
I don't know.
I think it's writers.
I think it's the Pro Football Writers Association.
I think it is too.
Well, if you writing and we talking narratives, it's a wrap. It's a
That's
slam.
what I'm saying.
Well, the media will definitely give it to DeMar Hamlin.
I hate that media members vote based on narratives. I would never do that if I had a vote.
It's just, it should be, there's 2 things that you have to consider in this award. Not career, not, did you die on the field? I don't think that's a prerequisite. I think the award, by virtue of its name, comeback player,
Yeah.
you're where you were last year and where you are now.